I asked Google what the top 5 fitness misconceptions were. Well, let's break them down. The first one is spot reducing fat. Now, this is something that my clients and people in my classes ask me about all the time, specifically around their abdominal area. They want to know if they can target this area for fat loss. So in regards to fat loss, you cannot target a specific area of your body. If you are in a caloric deficit and you're doing all of the other things that will help push you towards losing fat and building muscle, you can reduce fat wherever your body wants it to come off first. So maybe it's your thighs, maybe it's your chest, maybe it's your belly, your butt, wherever it's going to come off first, right? But if we build muscle under that area, that's when you'll see those muscles come out. So when it comes to the abdominal area, if we can strengthen your muscles, progressively overload your abs just like we would any other muscle and build muscle there, as you lose fat, those muscles will start to show more, but we're not going to be able to necessarily say, I want to lose fat on my thighs, let's do this exercise. It's more of a global thing and your body's going to choose where the fat comes out first. Okay, next is lifting makes women bulky. Now, this is a really big misconception that I think a lot of women are afraid to get bulky. And what all that means is I think people are afraid to look like a bodybuilder or somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they have these huge, huge muscles. That is incredibly hard to achieve. That takes years and years of being absolutely perfect and completely dialed in on a level that is elite. It's like athlete level. So you lifting in a heavier weight range, right? So pushing yourself to more of that close to failure feeling to try and build muscle is not going to bulk you up. It's actually going to give you that toned, that word that we use, toned physique that you're probably looking for. Okay, so next, no pain, no gain. Now, that is definitely something, especially if you come from an athletic background, maybe you played sports in high school or college, and you feel like you have to push yourself to the point of being miserable in your workouts to get any benefit, and that is completely untrue. So first thing is I love people to actually enjoy the workouts. Now, if you're somebody who does enjoy that feeling of like a little bit of pain with your workouts, that's totally fine, but that does not mean that you want every single workout to feel that way. So essentially the intensity level that you want to shoot for, if you're using a 1 to 10 scale and you're trying to maybe build muscle or gain some, cardiovascular health too, and kind of feels differently between strength training and cardio, how to gauge that. But you're probably looking at like a 6, 7 out of 10 for maybe strength training. And especially for beginners, you could even be anywhere from like a 5 to a 7 out of 10. And then for cardio exercise, probably like that 5 to 7 out of 10 as well. So we want things to be challenging, but manageable with proper technique. There are benefits to pushing yourself to those higher intensities, especially if you're an athlete or if you're working towards a different cardiovascular fitness goal of improving your VO2 max or have other performance goals. But for general health and wellness, that moderate to somewhat hard intensity level is more than enough. Another thing to note is that soreness does not equate to a really good workout. So a lot of times when you first get a new program, you're going to be sore, especially if you're learning new exercises and your body's not quite used to them. But a lot of times I finish my workouts, I've worked really hard, I've challenged myself, I've lifted heavy, and I'm not sore the next day. And that is totally fine. It doesn't mean that I didn't have a good workout. It just means it wasn't a huge shock to my system at that point where I was having this crazy amount of soreness. And a lot of times if you are super sore, it means you overdid a little bit. Okay, next we have stretching before exercise. So I think this is actually referring to static stretches. So thinking of things like just holding a stretch like this or holding a quad stretch. And what Google AI is saying is that the fact is stretching cold muscles can actually cause injury and lower your power with the exercise. Now I agree and disagree with this a little bit. So I don't like stretching my muscles cold. And I do think that you maybe won't get as good of a movement or as much stretch as you would like if you're just stretching without any sort of warming up. So I do like to do more dynamic stretches towards the beginning when your body is cold. So dynamic stretching or like a dynamic warm-up type of movement. And that might be something like a rotation or hinging at your hips or like an inner thigh stretch, rocking side to side. But I don't think that just stretching cold is inherently bad, especially the note about lowering your power or lowering the amount of strength that you can put into an exercise. If your goal is not to squeeze every last drop out of your exercise for performance reasons, like a power lifter or somebody who is competing, I don't think it's going to be a huge deal if you lose a little bit off of what you're able to move for a squat or a bench press. So I think there's a time and place for doing some of these stretches. So for example, doing like a doorway stretch to stretch your chest out might not be a terrible thing to do before a workout if you're really tight through your chest. But I do think if you did some dynamic movements before that stretch, you might be able to get into a little bit of a better position. And misconception number 5 is muscle turns into fat if you stop strength training. Now, I honestly have never heard somebody ask me this. So if you build muscle, so let's just say you spend months building some muscle on your body that you haven't had before, and all of a sudden you stop strength training, it is actually incredibly easy to maintain your muscle mass that you've built in comparison to actually building that muscle. So all I'm saying is that the amount of time and energy you put into building your muscle can be cut down to barely any of that just to maintain it. So if I was working out 3 or 4 days a week over the course of months to do this, I actually could probably just work each muscle group 1 day a week for a couple of intense sets and still maintain that. So you can, I think the number that I saw in a research study was 1/7 of what you were doing can maintain your muscle. So that's actually pretty incredible that once you build it, it's really easy to maintain that muscle and it's not going to just turn into fat because you stop exercising. So if you were able to build muscle now, think about yourself 10 years from now, you're gonna be very thankful for that. So I thought this was kind of fun to go over what AI told me was the 5 biggest fitness misconceptions. If you enjoyed this, follow along for more and maybe I can do another one of these videos.